Welcome back to the book of Samuel. We're in chapter 30, verse 21. And what happens is it says, Vayovo David el matam ha'anashim ashepigru milech achari David. So that David, after winning the war against the Amalekites, so he returned, as it were, to the 200 men that did not go with him because they were tired. It says, we learned that before, that they were tired and they couldn't go with David. V'yoshivum, and he had stationed them b'nachal Besor, in the brook by Besor, and that was with the intent of safeguarding all of the equipment they had, all their belongings, and that way David and the rest of the 400 men could chase after the Amalekites and people who had destroyed their families and taken their homes, and taken their family captive. So it was to their benefit that these 200 people remained behind. And so what happens is Vayetzu Likrat David. They, the men who were there, the 200 men, went out to meet David, Ulikrot Ha'am, and to also meet the nation, Ashirito, the 400 people that were with him. Vayigash David at Am. So now David is approaching this nation, the 200 people. And he asked them how they're doing. After all, when he left, they were famished, they were tired, so he wanted to make sure everything was good. He was he was being friendly with them. And verse 22, so when the people saw that, when some of the people with David, the 400 people who went out, saw that, the Tanakh says judging them very strongly, and says, V'ya'an kol ish ra v'ya'al, that some of the people, they were wicked, evil, and unscrupulous men that went with David. So what happens? When they said, Ya'an shelo imi, since they didn't go with me, lo nitain lahem, let's not give them anything, me'ashlal she'itzalnu, from the booty that we rescued. The only exception is, of course, except let them have their wife and their children and let them go with that. Empty-handed, in other words. They didn't want to go with us, so we should just give them back what they own. But when it comes to the actual splitting, we don't want to give anything. So why are they called Ra? Evil of Eliel, really, you would think that they're right. The peoples didn't go with them, they didn't endanger their lives, so they should have to get nothing from that. And so the Malbim says a very interesting thing. Why were they called Ra? Why were they all unscrupulous? Because when they saw David showing friendship, they should have gone, that was their leader, they should have gone with him, but they were more b'malchus already. They were rebellious against the kingdom, if you will. And so that is why they're called Ra, evil, uvli'al, and unscrupulous men. They went for their own purposes, as it were. So the Tanakh is testifying to their not acting appropriately. So now what happens? David doesn't like that. So in verse 23, Vayomer David, and David said, Lo tasu kein lechai, let's not do this, my brothers. He's talking everybody. He doesn't identify as your low lives. He says, Echai, my brothers, ki eda shinotana Hashem lanu, v'yishmotanu. It was Hashem who gave us what we have and guarded us. V'yitena gadud, and He gave us this troop, as it were. He delivered the troop habalin v'yadeno that came upon us. He delivered into our hands. It wasn't us. It wasn't by our power. He's showing the people. It was rather that the Hashem had saved us. Now, Hashem had saved us. And who would listen to concerning this matter? For as a portion that will go down, and for those who went to war, and the portion of those who stood to protect our vessels, our property. So we have to split it. Well, each one of us had a role to play here. Now the Malbim goes a little further and says, a beautiful word. He said that David was really saying that the people who stayed behind had more bitachon, more trust in Hashem, because we went and we chased after the Amalekites and did what we had to do, but we relied upon our strength, as it were. We rely upon, even though God is giving us the ability to do it, we still felt we had, as it were, help God out, as opposed to the people who stayed on the other side and guarded our vessels. They were certain that Hashem would create the miracle. So he says, in a way, they're more holy than we are. They had much more bitachon. So, of course, it's in their merit. Think about that. It's in their merit that we won. So that's why we have to split it. Beautiful word, he's saying, because of a person's merit in this sort of situation where I have bitachon, I have trust in God, I have amunah and faith and everything else, it's all going to work out. It's because of that that the other side, the ones who are fighting, are having success. It's an amazing statement to make. You would never think that. You would never hear generals today saying it's because of the people at home that were doing what they didn't, praying to God, that suddenly we won. You're not going to hear that. It's only David HaMelech who would have such a connection to Hashkafa, to the outlook, to Jewish understanding, that could say such a thing. And as a result, they listened, and it was, so verse 25 says, "Vayhi me'ayom v'mala," and it was from that day and onwards, or upwards, if you will, v'yasimeh l'chok u'mishpat, there was made a statute and a law, the Israel and Israel ad yom hazeh, until this very day, that the people who are at home and the people who are guarding the vessels and the people who went to war split this. Now, why does it say vamala instead of vahala? Vamala upwards, vahala and onwards. And so the rabbis explain, because David was not the first one to say this. It was really Avraham who had split back. And if you go to Genesis, you'll see that Avraham went to war against the 4 kings, beat the 5 kings, and he was victorious, returned everything to everybody. And when he was the only stuff that he took a reward for was for the people who went with him to the war. He didn't want anything from the king of Sodom, but people like An Eshkol who had remained behind to guard his belongings. So for them, he had to give money, a reward, booty. So here also, we're learning from Avram, and David makes it official now. It was a law that apparently was forgotten, the rabbis say, and so he renewed it, and that's why he's credited as it were to make this chok mishpat. Okay, so verse 26. Vayavo David ek Siklag. So now David comes to Siklag. Vayishalach mehashalal ziknei Yehuda, and he sends away. He's not asking for a back. He sends from the booty to the elders of Yehuda, Reu, to his friends, to his family. In other words, they are saying, "Hinei lachem bracha." Behold, here's a bracha for you, here's a gift for you. Mishlal oivei Hashem, from the plunder of the enemies of Hashem. Lashib Beitel, that were in Beitel, Lashib Ramot Negev, Lashib Yetar, from all these different places, Ramot Negev, Yatir, and verse 28. Just going to go through names at this point, but I just want to finish this up today. Lashib Arorev, that was in Arorev, Lashib Sifmot, in Sifmot, Lashib Eshtamoa, that was Eshtamoa, Lashib Rachal, that was in Rachal, Lashib Are Harachmael, Lashib Are Hakeni, that were in the cities of Yerachmeeli and the cities of Cani, and which, by the way, Cani is, let's not forget, that's Yitro's line from Moshe's father-in-law. Lashib Bechorma, that was also from Chorma, Lashib Bechor Ashan, also that was in Bechor Ashan. Lashib Atach, and also Ba'atach, also Lashib Bechevron, Bechol, Makom. Now here's the major thing. 31. Why does it give it to all these places? So verse 31 explains the Lashib Bechevron, that was in Chevron, Lechol, Makomot, in all the places. It hit a Lachsham David, Huba and Ashav, that David and his men were going when, and this doesn't say it, but this is implied, when he was running away or fleeing from Shaul. So now he was paying off his debt, as it were, to say, we want to thank you for keeping us safe. And so here is, you also get from the enemies, the plunder from the enemies of the Lord. And that's what we'll stop today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like it, share it, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much.